manji jemur do nyumi jang zomen monum jemur ngabya bakır targam zanto jirmur do domba de janla jamzur lo.
Today we might have a bit more content than usual. Let me recite the transmission first.
Teni shanchu sangwa jemur manji jerbo tanle langde la kum chaba chik do zarne pimo yeba langa sala tsukde chondan de kala de dharmo jar te chondan de landir ki jesu do chondan de tambe chupa makro chuji namjang de li la tog sam alawam de kitam zamba rigjiwo motif sonum chirni keperan gera terki je sura dam chondan de jang zong jembor manji gerbo landir ki je kwar manji gerbo rigjiwo mo kana la jige de jang shog ba sha cho chu kong go long shima ni la to shima kong go long jet ji shima ni la to tang de she de zambar she de rumor she de chobar she de manji gerbo chirtar sem rigjiwo mo de jele sonum mandar ke de tamma asura chondan de mang so de ro so ba mang so chondan de jikka tsarwa manji gerbo chodo mubaro shawo konda chibir shawo manji gyaro rigyo umo kangla la tambi chupa makaro chuji namzhang dele tana tsikzhiwi tsikzu chabak chigyang zamba dang loba dang kanda chibir shiba dang nandan jibzhabna manji gyarbo rigyo umo kangla la tishe dewe sonam mangda kiedo dewe chondan de shanju zangwa chimbur manji gyarbo landir ka chibgar sato chondan de tambi chuji namzhang tambi chuji namzhang de lila togsam alawam de kyattam zamba rigyo mo te da chongwar kyaba dang ravi slat zong nam tsarwar gyo.
Today in the Dhāraṇī Chapter, there are quite a few mantras, so I will recite them in Tibet and I have compared them. Basically, these mantras are quite similar. When I recite the mantras, everyone here can also look at the Chinese text yourselves. Now, this is the first mantra. It seems there are 5 mantras in total.
Tayata ame ane mane tsute tsarate shama yeto pe shende mente menka tame same abo shame sama same zayi kyayi akyayi kyorno shanti shama.
Thai people often recite them.
Shama te dharana akola kabesa trate pekachana pupara abanandarana pepeta atayanda parashide ekolo mengkele arte parate shika kyo sa asama same bardalok te dharma para kyote sangana rago khana rago khana baya burdana mande kyaya tre rcha ko khale akya bana taya palo amanaya nataya.
The Thai language seems better for reciting mantras.
Sanji Jondan de Ganga Hongo Shima, Ganga Hongo Trikji, Shima Niji Shaba, Gungum Dordinder Tavan Zamba, Chushmavan Garwa Giana, Sanji Jondan de Tamsila, Kiba Lag So, Deni Jondan de Johnson Chamber, Manji Jarboland, Kajika, Manji Jarbo Chuzon on the Tsig, maybe, Samson Mombudon, Shi Jan, Manji Jarbo Samson, Nala Tuk, you should have Tunga, Kabadan, Ravisha, Loso, Jano, Tini Jondan de Johnson Chamber, Rapto Jimbe, Chipka, Jondan de Dachaki. Churmavanda Tavata Cheta Zong Signum Sarajete, Churmavanda Teta Lion, a lock Tavakangitan, Long Marni Parandastate, Onovision now Trumbogam, Trung Churugam, Shet Tam, Travam Mam, Yeta Lokta, Namgi, a lock Marni to, the Nation Zon Chembo, Haba Chembo Raptor Jimbati, Tse, Zong Sign the Dog Meso. Tayata, Zale, Maha, Zale, Uke, Muke, Ache, Vata, Ne, Chichu, Ne, Nutra, Yab, Nutra, Bata, Achna. Butcher, ne, cha, ne, cha, chaba, de, suha, the name John de Jason, the dotation. They don't shop at Ripton by on the San Jessica, Kushima, Niki, Arte, young Kakachun, the Tavangaro, Diana Tations about the Tamsil Lion Kiba, Lasso, the Nipton, the Yarpo, Chimbor, Nam to eat, Narkichika, the Chundon, the Dakijan, Churmava Teta, Lua, Sevi, Mambadan, Devadon, Truman, Kiaba, Ravi, Flatter, Zon, Signum, Jubro, Jogo, Tayata.
Each one has Tayata at the beginning, then it has Svāhā at the end. It seems the Chinese version doesn't have them. Tibetan mantras often have these.
Atacha, Nacha, Tanacha, Anati, Nato. Kunach Suha, Jondan de Zong, the Churmava Tetan, Hotsa gets into the Chung Review, Review, Mom, Dordin, Zen Chan, Churmava Teta Lion Chung Review, Deluxe Giver and Euro, Tene Gerbochimbo, Pertibo, Joseph Shiva, Chatu Gertongo, Yonsu Kurjam, Dundo, Darnen Kurte, Digbate of Stanley Land, the Lagon Trapachik, Zarte, Vimo, Pimo, Salaps in Jondan, the Calavar. The Losa, Dharma Jerver, the Jondan de Landerkachika sort of Jondan de Dakijam, Dodin the Town, Zambada, Churma, and the Tower, Tron, or Kaban of Ravilat, Zon, Signum Jubber, Yo, Tayata, Angane, Gane, Gorja, Ganda, Zanda, Matang, Po, Kakas, Sankale, Zhia. Zhia le suha, Jordan de Zong, Jitsign, the Taganazangi, Shia, Chatu, Jazangi, Song, the Gunga Churma, and the Tower de Langaro, not at all times. Kiba also, the Nechum, Chama Jisha, don't Jummo, number Chama Jisha, don't Jummo, Sotama Jisha, don't Jummo, Medo, so Jisha, don't Jummo. Joban so Jisha, don't Jummo, Tajan Jisha, don't Jummo. Meiji dans这么松上强啊，就dans这么东京嘛，就dans这么深圳他们去进当出吧。出嘛当扩动这把当这么的到他们去进，中等的嘎拉瓦的选的这么的到他们去进这个的去的中等的兰德克去做中等的到这个讲到的那咱们去嘛的到了中啊当下巴当拉布有个的了生节日有个今年去嘛的到拉达当跟说话到到讲拉姆尼不有个的呢这么的到他们去进这个去的喷不是中等的老总你去这个到普罗大呀他。Atma, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5.
There are 5 Atma. There are also 4 Naim.
Atma.
There are 5 Ruh.
Hate, Suha.
This one is easy to remember. The Chinese is basically the same. It seems the number of repetitions is a bit different.
ndo shoro jone churma namla yang khavar ma chi no jin nam chumbo gam yeda sam sha sam chru gam xie tam rolang sam rangwa gam no ba gam je de shi ji zig sam no jin ji shi ba gam mi shi ba gam ma ma yin bi shi ba gam ram na de chi ba gam nyang ni ba nyang sam ba ni ji ba ni ta bar ram sam tanar mulum na ya bad me ji zig sam ji ba ye zig sam ki ye zig sam wo mo z thon sam bar ji ra de ni mamchi so tene chmo te ta ka chi ka da jar ka chig da tsum tumbar chom da nela tsu ja ban da ka sor do da chig sang ngam da to ne churma wa dan gar ki pa ti tsi tsar ba den da arnza ngai to ba jen kan ji churma gar ki pa ma so ba dan ro ka pa so pa kan la bu ro te da pa so ro ka mapsa pa yin roa kanda papsa pa yin roa kanda roa tena terimchi go kanjik chu Ternzer takkan roa dan terdon roa kan la pa roa terna terimchi so kanjik churman gar ge pa kan la yob ge rojang da chechun roa kan la ban roa terna terimchi so terk sorne donjin la so ba chmo de do chondan de la terk ji sor do chondan de da chak ki jan churma ban dar ta ta la chong ge ro de delgz yerwa dan cha par pangwa dan jir go terk ji sora dan chondan de ji chmo de da lan der ki ji ka sar to ge chmo da la so chu ji churma ba de da chongwa da kya ba dan ra ji ba dan kan na tha na chu ji nam jan da mang zam zam ba te da la yam dong jan mo kin kor dong che be chung ru xie na gang de chu ji nam jan da ta da che ben zam ba la wam se jir de rim zhou xie ba dong me to dong de bo dong fu dong changwa dong ji ba dong che ma dong nam sa dong de dong yam zan dong lai wa dong dong jim marme dong marji marme gamar puji marme dong zamba kai marme gama parsha kai marme gama apali marme gamar narmi marme gam tertavim chopi yoshin mambo gyartung gorum joshe parta chirmude donjin jo dong jibab chung ru shago dong di legan da shane chokchak gyatru jirtung mirkiwe chulab zoba topar jiro tambi chupa makaro le zong di lega jib shawarte nishir tsakchik bago.
Below is another chapter. That chapter is Ancient Accounts of King Śubhavyūha. I am not comfortable.
Tene chondan de tamchatang tambi janju zanghwa la kabzarwa rikjiwa kunu shungwa depi tina karwa chame parkirwa ti tsena karwa mthona gawan jikten ji kamar nambar nawi gozir jibjamba dewan shaba chabjamba yangda bar zoba sangri rikba tan jazu tamba dewa shaban jikten jimar kiyo ndarwa lana mipa lhata manayim ji rtomba sangjib chondan de mrikjag yang nyant karmi gyarpo metok kandar jeba jibsha jikten de shung devjan shabam jikja yang karmi gyarpo metok kandar jeba ti qsongrab la gyarpo gyab kopa jibsha jongte rikjiwa gyarpo gyab kopa ti chongma chama mepe shin jibsha jigyoto rikjiwa gyarpo gyab kopa de wagni jigyote chikam mangna chama mepe nyambo da chikim mangna chama mepe mukte kege tegni zamchar da sherab da sonam da yishi da dambarte janjib san gusho balab zombar kirto ndartarte jimbi parur do shimba da tsirim gi parur zobi parur do shimba da sonri gi parur do shimba da santan gi parur do sherab gi parur tab gi parur do shimba da nyanje da ga dang nyum da shang chib san hua dang nyum da shang chib san hua chuji choksum chi sabdum bo dalab zombar de tamchi gi parur do zombar kirto chama me be dang ji parur do song Jirkirdan karmadan nimadan tangan zanji parurda songo chamame bagoji tangan zanji parurda songo chamame bagoji tsarvi tangan zanji parurda songo kharab jambi tangan zanji parurda songo azubji jembush nyambu tangan zanji parurda songo pchondan te ti sena ti se semchen te dag lang tu tsewa dan gerbo gewap ko ba te la tu tse yushir tambe choba makarbo chuji namjan dor tundo rigiwe tene kiga chamame bi nyambo gam kiga chamame bi mu dagchak kepi ma kalavar te song te sormo pje tarmo jerde dagchak kepi malandir kijirme so yim tsur shun jondan de jang saba jab jamba yang dobor zoba san jem rida jayang jayang nyen karmi gerbo meto kandar gebate la tawa dan shig gebata nim kirwi lat jondan de jang saba jab jamba yang dobor zoba san jem rida yang nyen karmi gerbo meto kandar gebi jong de jette chi lat jena jondan de jang saba jab jamba yang dobor zoba san jem rida yang nyen karmi gerbo meto kandar gebate ladan jibin jiten jem dand tambi chuba makar bu chujin namran der gebra ratan cha tem nyambr gibi jeto kiwishirdo jirdo rikiweda terkichi meba dan yarbu choma chama meba jembe kiga chama mebi nyambo da chama mebi mugla ndirkichi me so rikiwe keki par yarbu gewa kochi tramze la tape devjang shakbate la tayushirdo murte ro keki page kopa tramze la tape Rikivetina, Kiga, Tamamepi Nyambodan, Kiga Tamamepi Mug, Sormuji, Tarmo, Jarnev, Dr. Kipi Malanderkici, Shme, So, Dr. Lubertavi Kim Derki, Dr. Chuji Gerbu, Malaktives, Malak, Malak, Rikivetina Gerbu Choma, Tamamepi Jembe, Kiga Tetala, Derkici, So, Rikive, Keki, Dr. Par Gerbu Gekubala, Nyonsi, Lata, Chumcher, Johnson, Loberton, Kidla, Tapper, Sim Tapper, not John and the Town of Judge by all the Pursuit of Sanjim Riga, Scarmi, Gerbo, Metokunda Kundur Bati. Kandan Dongwa Nango, Rikive, Teni Kiga, Tamami Nyambo, Tamami Muki, Ti Tsena, Shandala, Zamdam Kalam, Pade, Parjerbo Kopala, Nyamsi, Jarda, Sanji, Nava, Chumcher, Zurda, Jede, Teni Namkina, Tela, Tong, Yarva, Sheda, Varnatela, Cherko, Varnatela, Durchuko, Varnatena, Ligi, Mani, Churgin, Tonjan, Ligi Stone, Melpon, Raptam, Barbara, Shedo, Ligi Stone, Chur, Tonjan, Ligi Mane, Melpon, Raptam, Barbara, Shedo, Tedor Namke, Nilla, Chimbur, Chung, Gervadon, Chung, Chimbur, Gervadon, Varnatella, Marna, Salif Shon, Namkala, Pagaso, give a kigate, Nijim, Jichu, Ternici, Rungapagi, Kubala, Pagi. Kopala Perto, Rigiva Tene, Jarbo Kope, Kega, Kiani, Zamchi, Chude, Ganem Ton, the Samjam Gavi, Yeran, the Raptor Gajam, Devala, Yuddevi, Kieni, Surmobja, Tarmobjade, Kigate, the Landirka, the Jir, Medo, Rigiva, Kiji Tombana, Sir, Kid Sea Lomajio, Rigiva, Dedana, Keg, Niji, Jarbo Kopala, Dirkichi, Meso, Yarbo, John and the Dons of Jamba, the World of San Jim, Rigian, Kermi, Gerbo Meto Kandar Jeba. Jigden, Sojan Jibarum Cheshang, Gong the Chu deal, Dan La Jide, Hadam Jibi, Dudam Jibi, Sambadam Jibi, Jigden Jim, Dana, Debitam Ju, Judir Namjan, Geber, Ratan Chacham, Jundan de Teno, Dachakar Tombate, Yarbo Jimbo, Dachana, T. Lomago, Rigive, Tene, Yarbo, the Gap, Gobi, King, Nilanderka Jermezo, Rigive, Chakar Tomba, Tajan, Jundan de Kichunda. Trong of Dajan Drogo, Rikive, the Kigate, Varna Tele, Vabne, Dachak Kepi, Maim Calavarte, Chenne, Surmuchi, Tarmo, Jerte, Dachak Kepi Malanderkaji, Sordo, Maim, Dachak Yab, Lanamipan, Dobrzopashan, Chip, the Terra Lasso, Dachak Yapton Bibal, Giso, Dachak Jondan Dele, Rapto Shone, Yertan, Dachak Tower Rigo, Rikive, Tene, Kigatami, Nyambo, Tamami, Mu, Ki, they say Dachak, Kepi Mala. Japan, the Meso, Kimmy Raptor, Shung, and Yimgi Dachaka, Navaram Zoda, Dejan Shabat, Niberka, Dachaka Raptum, Jonor, Gur, Adamgari, Metojan, Gervashan, the Niberka, Tarvam Jura, Nirkavi, Rapto Shung, Ananda, Sur, Gerbu Chomachamami, Jimbe, Meba, the Rankirni, Don Sheva, Shiva, Law, Shibata, Ko Labra, Town, Gana Dejan Shabat, Niberka, Dagjan Rabdam Shongrosha Rikive, the Kigate, Jabate, Mene, Daki Padam Malander Kijika Sato, Yavium, Lazo Turshun J, Ketan Tamsil, Hand of Jud, Jonathan de Laftava, Chukshava, Nimger give it lot of Jonathan de Nosava, Jaman, the Porto Sanjim Rida, and Carmijer. Metok under Jebati Jon de Jedo, the Lat Yim, Sanjim John Niperka, Adamgari, Metok dan Rajan, Yasinga, Regime Jumbatsapat and Javi Flat Go Yim, Sanjip John de Doz, John Rakavate, where Yavim Dachak Sunum Chok, if they be Sunum Dursta, the Yavim Dachak Dana, Lagde Dachak, Mam Chijan, John de Donosava, Jamba, and the Porto Sanjim Rida, and Carmi Jerbometok under Jibi, Tambala, Raptor Shungo, Tilad, Yavim Dejan Shabam Tomari. Perkavadan, Tanati, Tanjavi, Chuji, Jarborni, Perkavadan, Tartava, Tarmjurner, Niperkava, Lado, Rigive, the Zena, Jarboga Koba, Sumun Korle, Yatu, Justumbi, Chopamakarbo, Chuji, Namjan, Snot, Kerdo, Chiga, and Tamami Nyambo, Tamami Mulka, Chuji, Namjan. Wow. Karachi Project on Tamsijan Tirta Chenne, Simson Tamsijing on Tamsi Servi, Tanzan of Shapra Joe, the Dochamami Pajarno, Chomate, Sanjay Tamsijun, Sanjay Tamsichu, on Eso, Rigiva de Dona Chegatiani, Jarbo gave up Copa, there's no Sabata, there's no Sabatan, after the Gine, Yons, remember she, the Onion Daptan, Jarbo Choma, Tamami Pashimbati, and in Daptan, Jarbo gave up Copi, Kiger, Nijan, George Jatu, Justum, Mukordam Cheba, Blumbo Damche, the Tamsit and Jone, Hanjik, the John, the Dons of Jaman, the Zoban Rita, and you can be your moment of Jebatella. Don't the Hane Jondan de Jalam go, Sham Sarde, Jondan de la Lan, Dunda, Corruption, Chukchidon, Kodo, Rigive, then Jondan de Nosava, Jaman, the Porto Sanjim Rita, and you can be your moment of Jebati. Jarbo Gakoban, Cordon Jebal, Hobram Kenne, Chuji Mission, the Labrayan, the Bertambada, the Burns and the Jibada, the Brazonto, the Barata Gardens, the Rigive. Then Jonathan de Tela, Jarboga, Kobe, Chuji, Tamjishin, the Labayan, the Bertanian, the Burns and the Chian, the Brazon, to the Yon, the Barata, Zane, Tite, some Jam Gavay, around the Gajan, Gavay, Devan, no Choben Gijan, the Jarbo Signi, Verdan, Yendaban, Cordon Jeba, Jarbuchum, Madame Jamaba Jimbadan, Gitsodam Jeba, Tamjan Cordon Kigan, Nindanda, Hanjig the Tocho Jatu Juston, Hanjig the Jode, Jonathan de Tenos of Japan, the Porton Return, and Yerkan Metok Jebati. Sunrulata Pigeon, Nikimi Raptor Jean, Raptor Jean, Jarbo Gap, Cordon Cheba, Jatu Juston, Tambi Chupa Macarbo, Chujir Namjan of Sabaton Combat of Shanchipur of Somber Gerdo, Rigiver, the Jarogap Copa Jatu Juston, de Ne, Yondenji, Janapcoba, Hamchi Tangans and Topte, Tanganzen, Topmata, the Namkat, Aladan, Halazet, any Rigiver Jarbo Sunum Jetin Gurda Jini, John de Nosawat Jamba, on the Barzon, Rida, and Nemetok the Jebu, Gunder Jebi, Jarbo. L'Orsordo, Jonathan de Dak Vandernina, Stombalar de Kandra, Zamchif, Tarat Chimbotele, Lotte de Shaba, Stanla Raptor, Jigso, Yonser, Member Shizo, Jibrib Giso, de Jabala, Tava, Dam Churchill, Flat of Corlo, Jonathan de Kigandanina, gave Juni, the Moon gave Sava Chamber, Gipi Flat, Vir Ziggy, Daka Chamber, Kieso, Turkish Sorat of Jonathan, the Mosawat of Jamba on the Porto of San James, and Carmijer Pometo Condor Giba, Kuba, Turkish Sorto, Jarbo, Division de Circumeba, Division de Givasa, Kiba Rigi, Mona, Entrepreneur Roadan, Chempo and Road, Hamster, Dan, Kanta, Tumba, Nibran, Jeroadan, Kanta, Laname, on the Porto of Shanship, the Long Tombadam Zaba, Yonser member ship, you gave Jenian Nam Nibr, Jero Chembo, gave Jenian, Yonson, Zambada, Shapan, Zabandana, Jachu, Jerbo, and Donim Tongam, John de la Toa Lasso, the Rosabam Toa Lasso, John de Jibka Sarva, Jerbo, and Dani, there's no Sabat, on the Porto of Sanjikun, Longushimani, Ni, Jim Jobra, Jezo, the Simson Nala, love the Lober Tavi, Simson Nala, Topata, Sundipi, Tambuchi Bamana, Carbo, Namjan, and Zanto, Rigiva, the dollar, Jerbo, Gakoba, Churkurte, Gamne, Surmuji, Dharma, John de Demosabat of Jamba, on the Porto of Sanjay, and Carmijer, Metok and the Jebal under Kitsordo, John de Demosabat of Jamba on the Ishi, and John de Demosabat of Jamba on the Porto of Sanjay, Kunga, we executor number zibian shimadaram mansum jim zorpum zi chang da dong term zibadam nyang thousand ji sem jim chang ajar jim zibadam jordan de ji drum medo vam bar tar de marwadong de jang shib chen zibadong de jang shib 今天有点多了，是不是？老不下到说是日几月的当那节不的都过把他们这点你集中的这样说这准备样都不是做不上节这样，改名节不没都跟着节把的了，我们不是多呢用的需要找出家东找南集中的的了多多的这中的这样说这准备样都不是做不上节。这样，这个样，那看没节不没都跟着节把了，那个节说多，中等的这种这种是把这准备的，돈钱上用的三级没节把它单边中等吧了，接着的这种是把拉把了，老不是这帮我们这都中等这种是，我当讲那没往的基本没节说，那老不是单边往的基本没节说，那初边往的基本没节说，那这边sem基本往的基本没节说，中等的给中等你的单呢，中等的这中等基本살로 되네 저는 대화 저거 좀 한번 더 벌써 산 김치 자연 이렇게 이제 몸에 동들 집아 고 시험 살네 와나라 송때 차고 되니 jer보게 갖고 받아 좀 좀만 봐 짐바데 야동리 미런chen 마데금 참합 정든 되지 땅가 남가라 도도 마데그 gem바데 도토마 도도 정든 되지 땅네 마데 참위 강바 강조 지저 함가 비즈르 봄년 바션도 데버 나나드 바네 버제데 강조 데르리 조조도 야동토마 당위 추숑 저데라 데는 서바도 좀 실모 좀 그지데 나 데니 jer보데 개고베 너냠도 산지 이시데는 더제정 대정 서바데는 용던 삼기 밑에 바다 담반도 되는 서비스 그 강화석비 위남지바타나 드바나 카토 jer보 초당 담브르다 하고 데니 정든 되는 서밤 리라 nerkan jer보메 도컨들 제바 쿠르 제보데다 담절랍가 자르와 게론다 jer보 코파 남킬티르난 느그상 상기 자조 감am 통감 소람 통로 소 정든 디기가 자르와 게론다 게고비 단레 게론가 저도 지네 여러분 jer보지 자원지든지 감도 정말 대정 서바도 좀 한번 더 상기 르바다 자스담바 되어서만 지템 제마 지원더라 칼로 제로나메 바양도 상집 정든데 살이 여러 공부지 자원지든도 쇼한테 게론다 대정 서바도 좀 봐. 양도 버르 조버 상제 살이 jer보디 상주선고 겐다노 포도메 바다 양토지 겐도 포도메 바다 지텐지 감 양도 버르 담바다 롱터 따담 냠버 제로 되네 대정 서바도 좀 봐. 양도 버르 조버 상제 용도 삼기면 기본 정어 르기베데다가 티체나 jer보디 게고바 지셔르데 제르데 제지 냠도 솜녀 연이다 대좀 자르 마저지 지베 교지 데르터 타वर 마샤워티 지르제나 전소와 전부 보바 밤미 화르란데 니티티 체나 jer보게 고바 지셔르 제르데 리지베 근거디 지체나 jer보 정말 좀 밥좀 바지 샤워르 제르와데 지지기 냠도 교도 솜녀 예니 대좀 자르 제나 리지베 더 교지 데르터 마타워티 지르나 전소와 전부 넘버 Нам гозри гемби гемсэн жившаванданы ди цена ярбу чума чамамеба чамамебе жин жившавар жердор ярбу копа дан семжэнтэй токхням цэвэрлат ярбу геукобе чума кевлон жердо ригиве ди цена кега тернис жервана кан жиген нямда сомни яни тэзум завр жерна ригиве кеки тертер муфтаоте жиладзена манди жербодо мания Tagban, Pagban, Dhāraṇī Chapter, Jerboge, Kopi, Virgirto, Rigive Tester, Johnson, Chembo, Manji, Jerbo, Dharma, Dabram Pagani, on the Sam Jimmy Berda, the San Joseph Chatuja, Tonto Mobola, gives out Theodore, Kivetambandani by Sam Jimmy Bichuji on the Pagzo, Gonder Kivetambandani, Zimbate, Tamjian, Hadam Jibin. Jivshir Jibirdo, when you usually Shabbat on Chozo Jaton, Chuji, Churnamla, Chuji, Mugdama. Dharmechang Tramadan Terror number Takotan Bichupa Makarpole, Jerboge, Cooper, Munji, Joraji Shavel League, Stay Nishir Tsaranga Pagu.
Today I really need to teach slowly. Don't be anxious, everyone. Those who want to sleep can go to sleep now. Don't go to sleep in the middle of the class. Otherwise, it won't be good for us to say anything later, right? We'll teach until 12 o'clock today. You should mentally prepare yourselves. Generally, when teach many people, 2 hours does not include reciting the transmission. It should take 2 or 3 hours. Generally, 4 or 5 hours is also acceptable. When Khenpo Depa taught in the past, sometimes he would start at 8 in the morning and teach until 2 in the afternoon. Some of his disciples mentioned this. So let's see how long we can teach today while teaching slowly. The Lotus Sutra is about to conclude, so toward the end we'll teach slowly. Today we're teaching the Lotus Sutra. First, let me tell everyone something, especially regarding this Dhāraṇī chapter. This Dhāraṇī chapter has some differences from the Tibetan version of the Lotus Sutra. This was mentioned earlier. Regarding the teaching of the Dhāraṇī chapter, in the past, there was a monk who recited the Dhāraṇī chapter for a very long time. Later, he could see many spirits and demons in the world. He achieved some transcendent powers. Then he could often see things in other villages. Once he saw a spirit in a spirit shrine. Then he asked that spirit if it were true that someone in a certain village was possessed and suffering greatly. Was it done by your subordinate? The spirit said, it was done by my subordinate. He asked the spirit not to do this. He should bring over the subordinate spirit. Indeed, that spirit was like a foreman of spirits. So he brought his spirit over. He beat him 100 times and then let him go. After some time, he asked again. In another village, there was also someone possessed. Was it also done by your subordinate? The spirit said, it was done by my subordinate spirit. Then the Dharma master again asked him to call it back. He also brought that spirit over. He beat that spirit 100 times. After a few days, the first person who was possessed became ill again. Then the family went to find the Dharma master. The Dharma master again went to find that spirit. This time he personally went to find the subordinate spirit. He said, are you the spirit who came that day? The spirit said, yes. Didn't your boss beat you like that the other day? If you don't leave now, I am going to start reciting the Dhāraṇī mantra. Then the spirit got scared and ran away. So what we teach here is that sometimes, now perhaps because sentient beings' karma is manifesting, indeed some people are possessed. Their mental obstacles are very serious. In such cases, reciting mantras is very important. This is one thing, and there is another thing. In the earliest times, there was Dharma Master Faxian. He was a Hinayana practitioner. He especially loved the Hinayana Dharma. Later, in the presence of an Indian Dharma master, he heard this Lotus Sutra. After hearing the Lotus Sutra, he began studying the Mahayana. Later, he developed very great faith in the Mahayana. He recited it 5 times every single day. Toward the end, many spirits and demons, including the 4 heavenly kings, often obeyed him. Because the bodies of many celestial beings emit light, many people often thought this Dharma Master's hermitage was on fire. It happened many times like this. Later, when Dharma Master Faxian was approaching parinirvana, he spoke extensively about how his earlier Hinayana views were not yet complete. Later, regarding the Mahayana, especially the merit of reading the Lotus Sutra, he spoke extensively about this merit to those studying after him. Moreover, he said if one very diligently reads the Lotus Sutra and studies the Lotus Sutra, then one will definitely achieve accomplishment within 3 lifetimes. Later, it was said that Faxian's memorial stupa was completely different from other stupas. Even a lot of rain would not wet it or soak through. Also, many birds could not land or stay on it. They didn't dare land on it. There were many miraculous things. So studying the Lotus Sutra has much merit. In the future, when you read records praising the Lotus and Lotus Sutra Chronicles and many scriptures spoken by later great masters, there are indeed especially many such accounts. I'm just mentioning them symbolically here. Today we are teaching the Dhāraṇī chapter of the Lotus Sutra, which is chapter 26. At this time, Bodhisattva Bhaisajaraja arose from his seat, bared his right shoulder, pressed his palms together toward the Buddha, and addressed him, saying, O Bhagavat, if in this world there are sons and daughters of virtuous families who can preserve the Lotus Sutra, in Tibetan it says, wearing it on one's body, it seems. There are several mentions of wearing it on one's body or preserving the Lotus Sutra, and also reciting it fluently and being very proficient. If they copy this sutra, roughly what kind of merit would they have and how much merit? Then the Buddha told Bodhisattva Bhaisajaraja, if sons and daughters of virtuous families make offerings to Buddhas equal in number to the sands of 800 myriads of kotis of Nayutas of Ganges rivers, what do you think? Is their merit and virtue great or not? Bodhisattva Bhaisajaraja said, very great, O Bhagavat. Before so many Buddhas equal to the sands of the Ganges, if one makes various offerings for a long time, the merit is very great indeed. The Buddha continued to tell Bodhisattva Bhaisajaraja that if sons and daughters of virtuous families can preserve even one 4-line verse of the Lotus Sutra, one verse of 4 lines, whether reciting it or understanding the meaning, or as mentioned before, wearing it and also practicing as taught, this merit far surpasses making offerings for many years before Buddhas equal to the sands of the Ganges. Indeed, regarding this Lotus Sutra, after teaching it for a year, everyone now knows why the Han region places such emphasis on the Lotus Sutra. Now for many of us, the transmission has basically not been broken at all. Of course, our transmission may sometimes be a bit broken in Tibetan or sometimes a bit broken online in Chinese transmission, but as long as both haven't broken simultaneously, we can make up for each other. Everyone can rest assured, because I have completely recited it once through in Tibetan. In Chinese, basically every single word has not been skipped, so there should be no problem. At this time, Bodhisattva Bhaisajaraja addressed the Buddha saying, O Bhagavat, now I wish to give the reciters of the Lotus Sutra a Dhāraṇ to protect them. I won't recite this Dhāraṇ now. I think it would be better if you recite them. I have already finished reciting them all just now. You have also heard each Dhāraṇ, because there is quite a bit of content today. It is not that I don't know how to recite them. Regarding these Dhāraṇ mantras, many of you are very curious. Perhaps I might not recite them, but I can recite them, and there should be no problem. After this Dhāraṇ was recited, O Bhagavat, this mantra Dhāraṇ was spoken by Buddhas equal in number to the sands of 62 kotis of Ganges rivers. Actually, this Dhāraṇ was not only spoken by Bodhisattva Bhaisajaraja. At that time, there were so many Buddhas equal to the sands of the Ganges. If there are some who slander the Dharma masters of the Lotus Sutra, the Dharma expounders or those who preserve it, then what are they slandering? So many Buddhas of the past. In the Buddhist sutras, perhaps the most numerous are these numbers. Regarding these numbers, of course, some portion may be actual numbers, but some portion may be virtual numbers. For example, in our mundane world in the past, when we were in middle school, there was a book called 100,000 Whys. Actually, this book doesn't have 100,000 Whys. Originally, it was by a Soviet named Ilin. The original work was his at first, but later it is said that its true origin was also an earlier British scholar who won the Nobel Prize, named Kipling, who wrote it. Actually, when they wrote it, there were 700,000 Whys. But actually, this book only has about 50,000 words, not to mention 700,000 Whys. Even the word count doesn't reach 700,000. So whether it is 700,000 or 100,000. Once, when I was in middle school, I bought a copy of 100,000 Whys at a bookstore in Luhuo. It seems I still have it now. Some of my books are still preserved fairly well. I had it a few years ago, but I don't know if I still have it now. At that time, I thought to myself, if I master 100,000 Whys, many scientific problems, since it contains much knowledge for children, I thought I would definitely become a person of wisdom in the future. So, like 100,000 Whys, it was very attractive back then. 100,000 Whys, there must be that many, but this was rather foolish, because that book couldn't possibly have 100,000 Whys. Not to mention 100,000, it doesn't even have 10,000. Not to mention 10,000, it doesn't even have 1,000 Whys. So sometimes it might just be a virtual number, or just a kind of, as they say about Russia in the past, where 100,000 was often a kind of virtual number. So the meaning here might also refer to the presence of very many Buddhas. It may be like this. Otherwise, regarding 60 kotis of Ganges sands, it is sometimes hard to imagine. It is truly hard to imagine. So these can probably be understood on different levels. This is my understanding. At that time, Buddha Shakyamuni praised Bodhisattva Bhaisajaraja, saying, "Splendid, splendid Bodhisattva Bhaisajaraja. You protect these Dharma masters with compassion, so you have spoken such a wonderful Dhāraṇ." this Dhāraṇ is very beneficial for all sentient beings. Actually, reciting mantras is very important. It seems the Shurangama Sutra also says, if our habitual tendencies are not removed, we must recite mantras wholeheartedly. Reciting mantras can eliminate many habitual tendencies in our mind streams. In this way, it is actually very necessary for eliminating habitual tendencies. At this time, Bodhisattva Pradhanashura arose. Just before him was Bodhisattva Bhaisajaraja. This Dhāraṇ chapter has 5 dharanas. It seems the first one was spoken by Bodhisattva Bhaisajaraja, but actually many Buddhas spoke it, not only him. Then Bodhisattva Pradhanashura addressed the Buddha saying, O Bhagavat, I also wish to protect those who recite and preserve the Lotus Sutra. I also wish to help them by speaking a Dhāraṇ. If these Dharma masters attain this Dhāraṇ, whether they be yaksas or rākṣasīs or putanas or krityas, kumbhandas or hungry ghosts and so forth, even if they try to harm them or seek their weaknesses, with these Dhāraṇs those beings cannot succeed or find any opportunity. So in the presence of the Buddha, he also spoke the Dhāraṇ below. Then after this Dhāraṇ was spoken, O Bhagavat, he also said this mantra Dhāraṇ was spoken by as many Buddhas as there are sands in the Ganges. Yes, it should be what Bodhisattva Pradhanashura just spoke. It was also spoken by so many Buddhas, and they all rejoiced in it. Therefore, if anyone slanders this Dharma master, they are slandering all these Buddhas. Therefore, our respect for the Dharma is actually respect for the Dharma master. Sometimes we may think, why should we respect a person? For example, some Dharma expounders sit on a high seat. We should be respectful to the Dharma expounder and prostrate to them. What is the reason for this? Actually, we can speak of it as respect for the person, but the reason for respecting the Dharma is also respect for the Dharma master. Regarding our respect for truth, some people say that everyone is equal. Especially Westerners often say everyone is equal. Why should I be respectful to a teacher? Actually, this concept is a more recent notion. It is the way of thinking of some later Western scholars. Actually, what we respect should be the Dharma. If we respect the Dharma, indeed, we must respect the person. The Samyuktagama also says, always respect the Dharma and abide by the true Dharma. Such respect is the Buddha's way. If we respect the Dharma in this way and respect the Dharma master in this way, then this is the Buddha Dharma. Why do we respect the Dharma? This is also very important. Otherwise, some of them feel, why in Buddhism is there such a view toward the Acharya, especially in Vajrayana, regarding the Guru as a Buddha? Actually, this is a very sound principle. If we respect the Dharma, actually we are relying on this Dharma. In relying on this Dharma, who transmits it? The Dharma master transmits it. Therefore, it also says here, the Buddhas and Bodhisattvas greatly value the promoters of the Lotus Sutra. They must protect them. We should also be like this. In different places, we hope that even some study group leaders will be respected. We should also learn to respect Dharma masters. Although it may not completely align with Western thought or some current worldly thinking, personally speaking, I still have great respect for all the gurus and teachers who have shown me Dharma kindness from my heart. This includes even the people who taught me when I was in elementary school or when I was in middle school at other schools. There was once a simple mathematics class in the mundane world. A certain teacher taught me for only one class, but every time I see him, even though he only taught me for that one class, I still think that he is my teacher after all. So I am still very conscientious, because once when I was in elementary school, our math teacher was absent, so he came to teach. But when he taught, half of it was wrong and half was right. At that time, we all remembered it very clearly. It was even pointed out in class. When he added and subtracted fractions, he did not follow any mathematical rules. But later, looking back now, I think he should still be considered my teacher, because he still taught that one class. Although half of that class was wrong, he should still be regarded as a teacher. The same applies to Buddhist studies, even more so. Some of our people today perhaps have rather strange thoughts. If you study according to Western knowledge, you can use Western methods, but in our East, especially when studying Mahayana Buddhism, we should. It also says here, why protect this? If some people ask, why protect those who preserve the Lotus Sutra? Why not protect others? Isn't the Buddhist thought that all sentient beings are equal? How can you have such favoritism? Protecting Lotus Sutra preservers is not right, they might say, but the faculties of sentient beings are vastly different, so it is also impossible for us to protect everyone equally. After that, the third one, Devaraja Vaishravana, arose. Devaraja Vaishravana of the north is the one who protects the world. He addressed the Buddha saying, "O Bhagavat, I also wish to compassionately care for these sentient beings and protect these Dharma masters. So I also wish to give a Dhāraṇ. This Dhāraṇ is relatively brief. In the future we can probably recite this one more often. It says below, O Bhagavat, with this mantra I protect the Dharma masters. I myself shall also protect those who hold to this sutra. Within 100 yojanas, they will not suffer harm or distress. It provides protection within 100 yojanas. Sometimes we should still recite certain mantras. Actually, this is very important. Take our Larungar, for example. In the past, when His Holiness Jigme Phuntsok Rinpoche was alive, and also for a period of last year, we recited Guru Rinpoche's wrathful mantra, as well as the Vajrasattva, Avalokiteshvara, and Manjushara mantras. These need no further mention. More importantly, in the past, there were liberation and Vajra armor mantras. Please don't talk, okay? You elderly people, your feet hurt. In this way, these mantras, especially given that we now face evil demons and heretics and various kinds of obstacles, we should still recite these mantras. The previous ones were quite many. Everyone can probably recite this one. It should be easy to recite. You see, within 100 yojanas, they can receive protection, which is very good. At this time, the fourth one, Devaraja Dhritarashtra of the east, arose. He was present in this Dharma assembly together with thousands of myriads of kotis, of Nayutas, of Gandharvas surrounding him. He came before the Buddha, pressed his palms together, and addressed him, saying, O Bhagavat, I also have a mantra Dhāraṇ to protect those who hold to the Lotus Sutra. He then finished reciting his Dhāraṇ. Was that one very similar just now? No, not this one. It is probably the one below. After reciting this Dhāraṇ, he said, O Bhagavat, this mantra Dhāraṇ was spoken by 42 kotis of Buddhas. If anyone slanders these Dharma masters, they are slandering all these Buddhas. Slandering Dharma masters is actually slandering Buddhas. Perhaps we have not thought of this. A Dharma master is a Dharma master and a Buddha is a Buddha, but we are quite respectful toward Buddhas. Dharma masters, however, we often bully and deceive. Some Dharma masters we just cannot stand looking at. We speak of Dharma masters' faults behind their backs. A while ago, among our lamas, there was someone who impersonated many gurus, impersonating this guru and that guru. On one hand, this may not be very good. This has many faults. Moreover, he impersonated them negatively, not positively, and he impersonated them quite well. They are indeed quite accurate and very funny. But on the other hand, perhaps this is not very good either. These gurus are still very remarkable. No matter how insignificant a person may seem to you, those who expound the Mahayana Dharma are indeed, no matter in which sutra or treatise, worthy of respect and protection. So even I, at times when ordinary lamas visit, might be somewhat lazy and not get up from my seat. However, when I hear that he is a guru, the teacher of a certain class, then no matter what, I become more respectful. What is the reason for this? Because if he is a Dharma master, he is indeed different from other people. You see, it also says here that it is best not to, in the future, whether they promote the Lotus Sutra or not, or even if they do not promote the Lotus Sutra, anyone who promotes the Mahayana Dharma must be respected. If you truly have no way to praise or respect them, if you truly have no way to do so, at least try not to slander them or say certain things. Nowadays, many people are nitpicking. They attribute things to them that do not exist at all. I have seen some lay people who are especially virtuous. Regardless of which lineage the guru belongs to, whenever faults are mentioned, they say, actually, those gurus are all very good. I feel these gurus should be. I dare not say they are emanations of Buddhas and Bodhisattvas, but these spiritual friends truly possess great merit. It seems they truly have respect for every guru. No matter what, this is indeed necessary. Otherwise, we cannot stand anyone we see, be it this one or that one. When speaking of faults, we are especially skilled and eloquent. Then, when it comes to speaking of merits, our eloquence fails us and we often cannot speak. People just have different habitual tendencies. So, it is best not to mention many faults of Dharma masters, as stated here. At this time, there were some rākṣasīs present. There were 10 rākṣasīs in total. The first was named Lamba. The second was named Vilamba. In some commentaries, there are certain differences. The third was named Kutadant twice, and the fourth Puspadant. These rākṣasīs are named mainly according to their teeth. Then one was named Makutadant. Another was named Keshina. The seventh was named Akala. The eighth, Maladari, might be more attractive. The ninth was named Kunta. Kunta seems to be their leader, the important one. The 10th was named Sarvasattva Johar. You see how frightening these Rakshasas are. There were 10 Rakshasas along with Harit. Harit is the one we often mention in smoke offerings. We cannot see them. But indeed, there are many spirits and demons in the world. Many spirits and demons exist that our physical eyes cannot see. Also, their children and retinues came, and all of them arrived at the Buddha's place. Then, in unison, they petitioned the Buddha, saying, "We also wish to protect those who recite the Lotus Sutra, to eliminate their afflictions." If there are those who seek the faults of Dharma masters, you see, sometimes it is best if we do not speak of any Dharma master's faults. Otherwise, the Rakshasas will also frequently use various methods. Indeed, at times in my hometown, there were some individuals. For example, during the process of liberating life, who constantly and excessively cursed the Dharma master, but later it seems that within a short time, some committed suicide, some were imprisoned. Last year, when I spoke with that fellow villager, I said, "Think about it yourselves. Sometimes do not be too unscrupulous when speaking of monastics or Dharma masters. Some people seem to have no concern for cause and effect at all. Then they speak desperately online. But in the near future, it seems within a very short time, they met with disaster and suffered many misfortunes. So to protect ourselves, we must also be careful. Otherwise, if we deliberately speak of others' faults, actually these Rakshasas sometimes are also secretly, perhaps completely taking away and consuming your vital essence. If some seek to harm this Dharma master, they will not succeed. Therefore, in the presence of the Buddha, they spoke this mantra. This mantra, you see, was very similar to the one just now. Several of them are the same. It is like this in the Tibetan version. It is also like this in the Chinese version. Itimi, itimi, itimi. It seems in the Chinese version there is a slight difference, but in Tibetan version, several of them are all the same. It is fine. All the translators were remarkable, accomplished masters. We should simply follow this version. It is best not to change it. If we were to change it, it would not be very good. There is also no need to compare and correct each other's versions. After reciting the mantra, she said, "Let troubles rather come upon our own heads." This means that for those 10 Rakshasas, they would rather their own heads suffer misfortune than have these Dharma masters be harmed in any way, whether it be Rakshasas, Yaksas, or hungry ghosts, as well as Putanas, Kirtiyas, Vetalas, and Skandas, along with Omarakas and Apasmarakas. These are likely all the names of various spirits and demons. Then there are Yaksa Kirtya, Manushya Kirtya, and fever. Fever itself is considered a type of spirit or demon, whether it lasts for 1, 2, 3, or 4 days, or even up to 7 days. These fever demons often persist. Fever refers to times when our bodies are unwell. During such times, we often have nightmares. All of these instances are like this. They appear in male or female forms, or in the likeness of deceased people you once knew. Some take on very unfamiliar and particularly frightening appearances. Some appear as young girls, while others appear as young boys. They will also show up in your dreams. But if we recite these mantras, we can dispel them. Therefore, some of us frequently experience nightmares. To deal with nightmares, it is best to recite the mantras mentioned above. Actually, in this mundane world, as I said before, there are so many rākṣasīs, yakshas, and evil ghosts of all different kinds and in vast numbers. When these entities see someone becoming ill and intend to cause them harm, they may appear during the day within one's perceptions and create obstacles for you, or they appear in dreams. For many of us, if you are going to catch a cold tomorrow, for instance, you might have a nightmare today, or if my body has not been well lately, I might have nightmares several times in a row. And during these nightmares, some figures are familiar people who have already passed away. Others take on the form of demons. Atheism claims that these things do not exist, but it is not as simple as saying they do not exist. Indeed, after you have such nightmares, your physical health declines. Indeed, after having these nightmares, great changes often occur in your life. This includes times when our mood is especially low. All kinds of nightmares arise. This is just part of life. Therefore, we must certainly develop the habit of reciting mantras. Recite certain mantras regularly. This includes when you are having a nightmare. If you begin using these mantras, the nightmare can be dispelled. When we taught the Medicine Buddha Sutra last year, we also spoke to everyone about the merit of certain mantras. By doing this, there truly is a difference in merit and other aspects. Recite some dependent arising mantras or other mantras while abiding in emptiness, and then cultivate great compassion toward these spirits, demons, or disease-causing demons. Engage in some Tonglen practice. Unless it is truly an irreversible karma from one's past lives, most obstacles can be overcome. Thus we see that some great masters in the world still have their own specific methods to counteract various physical and mental obstacles that arise during their practice. This is very important. At this time, she said, if they do not obey my mantra. She spoke the following verses in the presence of the Buddha. She said that if anyone does not comply with her mantra, the demon hosts and spirits who disturb these Dharma expounders will have their heads split into 7 pieces, just like the branches of the Arjaka tree. The branches of the Arjaka tree have many divisions if they do not listen to me. The Tibetan version says that if after hearing this mantra they still intend to disturb them, then such and such will be smashed. The Tibetan is slightly different. If after hearing my mantras you still wish to harm these Dharma masters, then I will smash your head through the power of this mantra. It subdues these demon hosts. Actually, the exoteric teachings also contain what we call wrathful activities. If you do not properly follow what I say, then I will smash your head into 7 pieces. In this way, this is also a form of subjugation. Some say that Buddhists are compassionate, so how can there be subjugation in Vajrayana? Actually, as you can see, the act of smashing other sentient beings' heads into 7 pieces like Arjaka tree branches is not originally a part of Mahayana Buddhism, yet the exoteric teachings do permit this at times. In the future, if you use certain subjugation methods and people claim they are unreasonable, you can ask, does the Lotus Sutra not contain such a line? How would they explain this sentence? Do they or do they not believe in the Lotus Sutra? You can debate with them using this point. We should always be prepared for such debates. Otherwise, when others raise certain issues with you, it is not very good if you simply evade them in the end. We should remain relatively well prepared. Regarding the questions they often raise, why is this the case? Because the sins of these people are like the sin of killing one's parents. There is also the sin of pressing sesame oil mixed with impurities. Also the sin of cheating people with false scales, and that of Devadatta, who caused a schism in the Sangha. The negative karma from these acts is the same as that of transgressing against Dharma masters. So why must we subdue them? Because of sins like killing parents and pressing oil with impurities. What exactly is the fault in pressing oil? Cheating people with scales. You all should contemplate this further. After the rākṣasīs spoke these verses, they addressed the Buddha, saying, O Buddha, we shall also personally protect the practitioners who preserve the Lotus Sutra. We do this so they may attain peace, be far from all obstacles, hindrances, and afflictions, and eliminate the effects of various poisons. Reciting this mantra carries such power. Then the Buddha told these rākṣasīs, splendid, splendid. Even if you only protect those who preserve the name of the Lotus Sutra, your merit will be inconceivable. How much more so for protecting those who truly preserve and make offerings to the sutra? If merely protecting those who preserve the name of the Lotus Sutra, those who simply hold the name and preserve the Lotus Sutra, perhaps only saying, I study the Lotus Sutras, and without studying its content at all, if you protect those who bear even just the name, that merit is already inconceivable. How much more so for those who truly preserve and make offerings to the sutra scrolls with flowers, incense, necklaces, powdered incense, burning incense, and so forth. There are many such offerings, like the ghee we mentioned before, or oil lamps of Utpala flowers, and so on. For those who make such offerings in hundreds of thousands of ways, the merit is even more inconceivable. Among the rākṣasīs mentioned, Kunta is their main leader, like a deputy director. You and your retinues should protect such Dharma masters. When this Dhāraṇī chapter was taught, 68,000 people attained the acceptance of the non-origination of all dharmas. This concludes the teaching of the Dhāraṇī chapter. Now let us rest for 2 minutes before we continue. The next chapter must be taught completely today. Two minutes. Good. Has the time passed? Have 2 minutes passed? The time have passed, right? Oh, yeah. Next we shall teach the ancient accounts of King Śubhavyūha, chapter 27. At that time the Buddha told the great assembly, long ago, immeasurable, limitless, and inconceivable as Samkhya kalpas ago, there was a Buddha whose name was Cloud, Thunder, Sound, Constellation, King, Flower, Wisdom, Tathagata, Arhat, completely enlightened one. He possessed the 10 epithets. He was named Tathagata, Cloud, Thunder, Sound, Constellation, King, Flower, Wisdom. His land was named Vairoka Narashmi Pratimandita. The Kalpa was named Priyadarshana. In that Buddha's Dharma, there was a king named Śubhavyūha. The main character is Śubhavyūha. The king's consort was named Vimaladatta. She had 2 princes. One was named Vimalagarbha and the other was named Vimalanetra. As you can see, the mother is named Vimaladatta. This is a bit different from Han Chinese naming customs. The 2 princes are not named Shubha something. Their names follow their mother's name, Vimaladatta. So, at that time, things might have been done this way. These 2 princes possessed great transcendent powers. They were very formidable. The princes had transcendent powers, whereas the father did not. They also possessed great merit and wisdom. They had practiced the bodhisattva path for a long time. These 2 children were truly excellent. Their practice included the perfection of giving, the perfection of good conduct, the perfection of perseverance, as well as the perfection of effort, the perfection of meditation, the perfection of wisdom, the perfection of skillful means, compassion, benevolence, joy, and generosity, and even all the 37 helpful ways to attain the Dharma. They completely understood and mastered all of them. Therefore, the practice of these 2 princes must have been exceptional. They had attained many samādhis, the Bodhisattva Vimala Samadhi, the Nakshatra Rajaditya Samadhi, Vimala Nirbhasa Samadhi, Vimala Rupa Samadhi, Vimala Bhasa Samadhi, Alamkara Shubha Samadhi, and the Mahatajogarbha Samadhi. They were fully versed in these samadhis. They were already proficient in the 6 perfections as mentioned. and had mastered the 37 helpful ways with ease. They also attained so many samādhis. So these two princes were truly extraordinary. They were not like today's princes who drive luxury cars every day to play everywhere, living their lives every day in a daze. In Africa, there are some princes. One king even has 26 princes. But Africa does not offer that many resources. However, in their lives, actually, people are all like this. In each person's life, there are ups and downs, jealousy, affliction, suffering, beauty, and ugliness. There are so many of these things. Each era also has its own afflictions and competitions. So people in our present era also compete with one another. For example, 2 tofu sellers will have competition. 2 beggars will have competition. 2 kings will also have competition. So in this era, there is competition everywhere. At that time, that Buddha, the Tathagata, cloud, thunder sound constellation, king flower wisdom, wished to guide King Śubhavyūha. Out of compassion for these sentient beings, he prepared to begin teaching the Lotus Sutra. At this time, the 2 princes, Vimalagarbha and Vimalanetra, went to their mother's place, pressed their palms together, and petitioned her, saying, "We entreat you, mother, to also go before Tathagata cloud, thunder sound constellation, king flower wisdom. We shall go together to make offerings, to draw near to him, and to pay our homage." You see how difficult it is for the Buddha to turn the wheel of Dharma. These 2 princes still entreated their mother to go with them. Generally, in the Tibetan region, for example, when a guru is turning the wheel of Dharma somewhere, relatively filial children often bring their parents to the guru's place to listen to the Dharma. Some just do not go themselves but have their parents go. Regarding the kindness of parents, if viewed from the Buddhist perspective, there is no other way to truly repay their kindness. The Vinaya and many sutras say that even if we carried our parents on our shoulders and circumambulated the entire trichiliocosm day and night, we still could not fully repay their kindness. Repayment is only possible by having our parents practice the Dharma. When we taught the Illuminating the Path to Liberation, a commentary on the aspiration of Sukhavati before, we also taught this. Only by having your parents practice the Dharma can you truly repay this kindness. This is very important. There is a sutra called the Sutra spoken by Bodhisattva Achintya Prabhasa. In it, as I think I have quoted before, not through food, drink, or treasures can parents' kindness be repaid. It is not by providing our parents with food and drink, or buying them a nice car or a house, or buying them other fine things. These things may not necessarily repay our parents' kindness. Guiding them toward the true Dharma is truly making offerings to both parents. If we guide our parents to enter the true Dharma, having them take refuge, ordain, and practice virtuous deeds, this is truly an excellent offering to both parents. It is also a very good way of repaying them. Of course, for some, they may try every possible method, but in this life, it seems impossible. Some parents' thinking is extremely stubborn. 20 years ago, I heard some people say, "I really want my parents to take refuge. They are still trying now, but I'm afraid it will not work. Now their parents have become very old. They definitely will not take refuge before they die." Some of our Dharma friends' parents have always been particularly stubborn. Their own viewpoints are quite fixed. They think they are right. At that time, as you can see, the 2 princes were very filial. They went to their parents' place. Why? Because the Buddha was teaching the Lotus Sutra before all sentient beings. We should go to listen to and receive it. At that time, the mother told her 2 children, "Your father believes in heresies and is deeply attached to the Brahmanical teachings. So you should visit him first and go to your father's place to petition him. If your father's thinking can be transformed this time, then we can go together." How wonderful that would be. Go and speak with your father. Their father was somewhat formidable. Then Vimalagarbha and Vimalanetra pressed their palms together and said to their mother, "We too are children of the Prince of the Dharma, yet we were born into a house of wrong views." In the Tibetan it says, "We too are not the Prince of the Dharma." Why are we too not the Prince of the Dharma, but born in such a house of wrong views? It seems there is a negative particle here, but here it says, we too are the prince of the Dharma. It can be explained in both ways. We are disciples of the Buddha. But why were we born into a home where our father holds wrong views? At that time, they were both very distressed. The mother told the two children, if you have compassion and care for your father king, you should manifest some miracles in his presence. After he sees them, perhaps his mind will become quite purified. Perhaps he will then consent and we can all go together. Generally, mothers often offer some advice to their children. This is a family secret. It was the same in the past. Sometimes fathers give advice, sometimes mothers give advice. At this time, the two children, as mentioned before, possessed great transcendent powers. Thinking of their father, they ascended into the sky to a height of 7 tala trees, where they manifested various miracles. Both of them already had transcendent powers. Then in the sky they walked, stood, sat, and lay down. Actually, if your parents do not believe, and if you have these transcendent powers, it would be best to manifest them in their presence. From their upper body they emitted water, and from their lower body fire. From their lower body they emitted water, and from their upper body fire. Also, their bodies appeared remarkably large in the sky. One moment they appeared very small, and the next very large. Various forms were manifested before their old father king. While manifesting in the sky, they would suddenly appear in the ground. Sometimes they were like water upon the ground, sometimes they walked on water without sinking at all, just as if on solid ground. They displayed various kinds of miracles. Displaying these miracles made their father feel very amazed. He began to develop faith and understanding. When the father saw the strength of these transcendent powers, his mind was filled with great joy. He had never experienced anything like this before. He never had such an experience. Then he pressed his palms together and asked his sons, "Who is your teacher? Whose disciples are you? You are truly remarkable." The parents of some of our Dharma friends are also like this. For example, with us here, many of the parents here later ordained. In the past, when their children ordained, they did not understand very much. Later, through various means, they would ask, "What is your lineage? Who is your teacher?" "It is His Holiness Jigme Phuntsok Rinpoche." I also want to see what His Holiness Jigme Phuntsok Rinpoche is like. In the past, there was a monastic here who was the first to ordain here. Later, his parents were especially angry. They prepared to go and confront His Holiness Jigme Phuntsok, but after waiting in line to meet His Holiness Jigme Phuntsok, they developed faith. Later, they also vowed to ordain. Such cases exist. At that time, he asked, "Whose disciples are you?" The two sons replied, "Our great king of Dharma is the Tathagata cloud, thunder, sound, constellation, king, flower, wisdom." Today, beneath the 7-jeweled Bodhi tree upon the Dharma seat, amid all the devas, humans, and sentient beings of the world, he is teaching the Lotus Sutra. This is our great master. I am his disciple. Certainly, being a disciple of the Buddha is a matter of great pride. One can say, "I am his disciple." The father told his sons, "I also want to go." Having just witnessed them, he was attracted by their transcendent powers. "I also want to see your great master. Let us go together." Thereupon the two sons, who had not yet descended from the sky, continued their conversation between the sky and the ground. Then they came down. They went to their mother. They had succeeded. They pressed their palms together and told her, "The Father King has already developed faith and understanding. He is now capable of arousing the thought of Anuttara Samyak Sambodhi. For our Father King's sake, we can perform the Buddha's work. We entreat you, Mother, to also consent and listen." They said, "We are preparing to practice the path." It says here the two children were preparing to ordain. They began to wish to ordain and practice before the Buddha. At this time, the two sons spoke in verses once more to elaborate further. "We entreat you, Mother, to allow us both to ordain as Shramanas. The appearance of Buddhas in this world is extremely rare. We wish to follow the Buddha to ordain and study. Just like the Udumbara flower in this world, it is very difficult for him to appear in the world. Similarly, It is just as difficult for a Buddha to appear in the world. Here, escaping from adversity is also difficult. This means that attaining a human body with leisure and endowments is also very difficult. With leisure and endowments, one is free from the 8 unfavorable states and 8 unfree states. We entreat you to allow us to ordain. You see here, when ordaining, mainly 2 reasons are taught. One is that the Dharma is difficult to hear and human life is difficult to obtain. So having obtained a human life, one should still ordain. Thus, in many sutras, the merit of ordination is highly praised. The Maharatnakutta Sutra says, one who ordains without negligence constantly increases in wholesome dharmas. Indeed, after ordaining, there are many opportunities for virtue. They do not destroy the roots of virtue and are far from all afflictions. Moreover, after ordaining, many roots of virtue will not be destroyed. It is not like being a lay person. One is far from many afflictions. Indeed, between ordaining and being a lay person, although I often do not especially advocate for it, as there is also much suffering after one ordains. But actually, within the Buddha's teachings, ordaining as monastics does indeed carry very great merit. This merit is inconceivable. However, regarding the monastics on our side, basically many are very pure after they ordain. Indeed, in this respect, sometimes, when compared to people in temples and other places, we should say there is a difference for many people here. Perhaps for the majority of these people, all kinds of worldly desires have already been experienced. So when they ordain later, whether in maintaining pure precepts or in study and practice, they are very outstanding in all respects. Therefore, we should also try our best. If some people wish to ordain, it is best not to create obstacles. Otherwise, creating obstacles also carries relatively great faults. There is a sutra called the Sutra on the Merit of Ordination. The Sutra on the Merit of Ordination also says that if someone ordains and we provide favorable conditions for them, the Buddha said that even in 100 years, their roots of virtue could not be fully described. Creating some good conditions for them, for example, when some people first ordain, they might have no place to stay. You could lend them a room. When they first want to ordain, they might have no money to buy monastic robes. You could buy them some robes for ordination. If you create just a few favorable conditions for them, this merit is still very great. Sometimes when we perform ordination ceremonies, many people hold flowers and say, "Rejoice, rejoice, Om Mani Padme Hum." But we should not say Om Mani Padme Hum. According to some traditions in the Tibetan region, when a person has died, then you say Om Mani Padme Hum. But I see some people start saying to them, "Rejoice, rejoice, Om Mani Padme Hum." But they have just ordained. Their work of propagating the Dharma for all beings is just beginning, yet you say Om Mani Padme Hum to them. This is also not very appropriate. Generally, when we see that a sentient being has passed away or that a sentient being is not doing well, we chant Om Mani Padme Hum. But here we should say, "Rejoice, your ordination is so magnificent." Instead they chant Om Mani Padme Hum. It is fine to start throwing flowers at them. Truly, there are such cases. Then the mother told them, "Your ordaining is also very good." Why is this? Because the Buddha Dharma is extremely difficult to encounter. At this time, the 2 sons addressed their parents, saying, both parents were present now, "How wonderful parents, you should also at this time go before Tathagata cloud thunder sound constellation, king flower wisdom to draw near and make offerings, because meeting a Buddha is extremely rare, like the Udumbara flower. Moreover, it is like a one-eyed turtle encountering a wooden yoke. The contact between the hole in the wooden yoke and the turtle is extremely difficult." Here it is a simile for the difficulty of encountering the Dharma. It is like the wooden yoke and the blind turtle. It is very difficult for us to encounter the Buddha Dharma. Because of causes and conditions from past lives, we have encountered the Buddha Dharma in this life. Therefore, our parents should allow us to ordain. And what is the reason? The Buddha Dharma is difficult to encounter, and such a time is especially rare. At this time, King Śubhavyūha, including the 84,000 people in his inner palace, all became suitable vessels for the Lotus Sutra. They were those who preserved the Lotus Sutra. Then Bodhisattva Vimalanetra, within the Sadharma Pundarka Samadhi, had apparently already attained the Sadharma Pundarka Samadhi. Then Bodhisattva Vimalagarbha, these two became bodhisattvas immediately after ordaining. Some of us are such and such lay people. After a period of time, they become a Khenpo or Khenmo. So Vimalanetra and Vimalagarbha were just two princes before. Now they are Bodhisattva Vimalanetra and Bodhisattva Vimalagarbha. They have already become bodhisattvas. Over immeasurable hundreds of thousands of myriads of kotis of kalpas. They were also versed in the samadhi for separating from all evil destinies. Then, wishing for all sentient beings, this bodhisattva's aspiration is also for them to be far from all evil destinies. His consort Vimaladatta had also already attained the Sarvabhuta Samgati Samadhi. She was able to know the secret treasure houses of all Buddhas. So his mother was also very remarkable. She appeared to be an ordinary woman, often giving advice to her children, but actually she was also quite formidable. She was not like ordinary women. Thus, through the power of skillful means, these two princes caused their father to develop faith in the Buddha and the Buddha Dharma. Thereupon, King Śubhavyūha, together with his ministers and retinue, and Queen Vimaladatta, together with her palace ladies and retinue, the two princes and 42,000 people, all came magnificently to the Buddha's place at once. Then, in the Buddha's presence, they began to prostrate and circumambulate. In the Tibetan version, it says 7 times. Here, it is 3 times. Sometimes the Lotsawas, the translators, might not even be sure which number is correct. 7 and 3 still represent a very big difference. Then they stood to one side. Their entire entourage arrived at the Buddha's place and stood in one area. At this time, the Buddha taught the Lotus Sutra for the king, illuminating, teaching, benefiting, and gladdening him. The king was filled with great joy. At this time, King Śubhavyūha, together with his consort, also removed from their necks their priceless necklaces. Many people took the ornaments from their necks. Actually, there were such cases in the past as well. They scattered the necklaces over the Buddha's body. Finally, these transformed in the sky into a 4-pillared jeweled platform. Within the jeweled platform was a great jeweled bed. Then it transformed into hundreds of thousands of myriads of heavenly garments. Above was also a manifestation of that Buddha. The Buddha sat cross-legged, emitting great rays of light. At this time, King Śubhavyūha thought to himself, the Buddha's rare and magnificent body is extremely and utterly supreme. He can be said to have perfected the most subtle form in all the world. It is truly magnificent. The Buddha's magnificent physical marks are also extremely subtle. This is inconceivable to us. If we can contemplate him for even a short time, the merit of this is also very great. Sometimes we look at Buddha images. When looking at these magnificent physical marks, indeed I often have this experience. When I see Buddha images, I still feel very joyful. I often place them in locations where they are easy to see. Just as it says in our letter to a friend, even for Buddha images made of wood, likewise, the wise find them worthy of respect. It seems this is taught in a certain sutra. In the past, when Venerable Upagupta was teaching the Dharma, Mara began to disturb him. When Mara disturbed him, Upagupta was a very remarkable sage. He then used transcendent powers to restrain Mara. Finally, Mara submitted to him. Mara said, "If you need anything, I can fulfill it. Please do not harm me, I was wrong." Then Upagupta said, "I have never seen the Buddha Shakyamuni. I have never seen the Buddha. Transform into a Buddha for me." Mara replied, "If I transform into the Buddha, you must promise me one thing. You absolutely must not prostrate to me. If you prostrate, I will not transform into the Buddha for you." Upagupta said, "I will not prostrate," because Mara said that if Upagupta prostrated, being so remarkable, Mara could not bear it. Then Upagupta said, "I will not prostrate, you go and transform." Mara went into the forest. It was like a beautiful woman going to a dressing room to apply makeup. The sutra also seems to describe it in this way. Then he manifested himself, because that Mara transformed into someone looking exactly like the Buddha. He had exactly the same magnificent physical marks. Then Shariputra and Maudgalyayana were on both sides, with Venerable Kashyapa and other arhats behind. They came out in a magnificent procession. When they appeared, indeed, Venerable Upagupta developed especially great faith. He prostrated like a tala tree falling to the ground. He praised the Buddha continuously. He continuously offered praise, using very many verses. There are many verses in the sutra describing how magnificent the body was and how the speech was. While he was offering praise, that Mara came over feeling rather proud of himself. Toward the end, Upagupta felt such intense faith that he truly could not help it. He then began to prostrate to the form. When he prostrated, Mara said, "Ah, did I not tell you? Did we not make an agreement? Were you not supposed to refrain from prostrating?" He replied, "My prostration is not to you. I am prostrating to the Buddha, just like with a Buddha image made of clay. I am not prostrating to the clay, but to the Buddha image. I am also not prostrating to you. It is the Buddha image you have transformed into that I prostrate to." Then Mara had no rebuttal in the debate and could say nothing. He said, "I am not prostrating to Mara, but to the Buddha's form. Just as with Buddha images made of clay, I am not prostrating to the clay. When it becomes a Buddha image, I prostrate to his form." Later, the transformation apparently disappeared. Truly, for people with faith, not to mention the Buddha, even Buddha images are very magnificent. Today we will teach slowly. That is fine. Let us finish teaching this today. Let us leave everyone with a relatively good impression. At this time, Tathagata, Cloud, Thunder, Sound, Constellation, King, Flower, Wisdom told the fourfold assembly, "Do you see this King Śubhavyūha pressing his palms together and prostrating in my presence? This king will become a bhiksu within my Dharma and will diligently practice and propagate the Dharma that aids the Buddha path." After that, he attained the samadhi of the decoration with all pure merits. Finally, he could also travel freely in the sky at the height of 7 tala trees. At this time, he addressed the Buddha, saying, "O Bhagavat, my 2 sons are still very important." We taught this before as well. Actually, regarding this kind of mindfulness of the Buddha, the merit of mindfulness is also very great. Because through such mindfulness, sometimes these transcendent powers and these supramundane merits can be completely attained. If one can contemplate the Tathagata for a moment, even for a single thought, through the power of merit, one will be forever far from all evil destinies. Some of our previous merits, what do they rely on? They rely on mindfulness of the Buddha and contemplating the Buddha's merits. In this way, many, many merits can be accomplished. "My 2 sons are good people," he said. "Through miraculous transformations, they converted my wrong mind and wrong views, enabling me to dwell within the Buddha Dharma and see the Bhagavat. My 2 sons are truly spiritual friends." Spiritual friends. Truly, sometimes we have already planted roots of virtue. They wish to awaken the roots of virtue from my past lives. For the sake of benefiting me, they came to my family. The 2 sons were very sad at first. Why were we born into a family with wrong views? The king seemed to say quite proudly, "These 2 sons are spiritual friends." The Great Collection Sutra says, "If sentient beings' roots of virtue mature, they will naturally draw near to spiritual friends." If sentient beings' roots of virtue have matured, then they will naturally draw near to spiritual friends. Actually, sometimes when we meet gurus or meet the Buddha, it is because our own roots of virtue have matured. The sutra provides a very good teaching. If sentient beings' roots of virtue mature, they naturally possess the wisdom to rely on spiritual friends. I myself often think this way too. I have great merit. When I was young, I met His Holiness Jigme Phuntsok Rinpoche and also many, many other remarkable great masters. In this way, this life has not been wasted. While alive, I have formed good connections with the Dharma. Also, with many Dharma friends with whom I have connections, I have also formed good connections. Over these many years, we have also communicated with everyone through the Dharma. He said, "These are my spiritual friends. They awakened the roots of virtue from my past lives. They were born into my family for this reason." At this time, Tathagata, Cloud, Thunder, Sound, Constellation, King, Flower, Wisdom told King Śubhavyūha, "It is so. What you say is indeed correct. If sons and daughters of virtuous families plant roots of virtue, they will meet spiritual friends life after life." These spiritual friends will also perform Buddha work, illuminating, teaching, benefiting, and gladdening them, causing these sentient beings to enter Anuttara Samyak Sambodhi. Great King, you should know the great causes and conditions of spiritual friends. They guide sentient beings to enable them to see the Buddha. Then they arouse the thought of Anuttara Samyak Sambodhi. Great King, you should know. Your two sons are also like this. Actually, these two sons previously made offerings to Buddhas equal to the sands of 6,500 thousands of myriads of kotis, of nayutas, of Ganges rivers, and they drew near to them with respect. In the presence of these Buddhas, these two also preserved the Lotus Sutra, and they especially have compassion for sentient beings who hold wrong views, causing them to abide in right views, so they manifest in various forms. Not only this time did they eliminate your wrong views. Eliminating wrong views is their specialty. These two are experts, experts in eliminating wrong views. So it is not only in this life. Some experts say, I am an expert in concrete and construction. I specifically studied this. How many years did you study? I studied for 2 years. 2 years cannot make you an expert. Your two sons are the true experts. Then King Śubhavyūha descended from the sky. He also addressed the Buddha, saying, O Bhagavat, the Tathagata is truly extraordinary. His merits and wisdom, as well as the light from his usanisa. His eyes are long and wide and deep blue in color. The white curl between his eyebrows is as pure and bright as the moon. His teeth are even and white with a distinct radiance. His lips are as beautiful as the bimba fruit. There are many such merits and qualities. At this time, King Śubhavyūha praised the immeasurable merits of the Tathagata in this way. In the presence of the Tathagata, he wholeheartedly pressed his palms together and addressed the Buddha. O Bhagavat, the Dharma of the Tathagata is unprecedented. He said, regarding merits such as these, I have never seen them before, whether in body, speech, or mind. Your activities and merits are so vast. The Dharma of the Tathagata is perfected with inconceivable and subtle merits. These teachings are for everyone, and the teachings of the Tathagata are not merely spoken words. They truly bring sentient beings peace and happiness through actual practice. From this day forward, I will no longer act according to my own discursive thoughts. I will not act with wrong views, pride, greed, hatred, delusion, or evil thoughts. After saying this, he prostrated to the Buddha and departed. This is the complete experience of King Śubhavyūha. Next, Buddha Shakyamuni told the great assembly at that time, what do you think about this? You should not think that King Śubhavyūha was someone else. He is now the Bodhisattva Padmashara. Queen Vimaladatta as well is now the Bodhisattva appearance of radiant ornaments in the presence of the Buddha. Out of compassion for King Śubhavyūha and all his retinue, she was born among them. Out of compassion for King Śubhavyūha and all his retinue, she was born among them. Just now, Queen Vimaladatta, isn't she the Bodhisattva appearance of radiant ornaments of today? That Bodhisattva had compassion for that king and the king's retinue at that time, and so was born in that family. That is how it was. That Bodhisattva undertook or manifested this rebirth. Because of compassion for King Śubhavyūha and his retinue, and specifically took rebirth in the family of this king. Then, regarding those two sons, the punctuation is not wrong. So these two sons are respectively such and such. That is it. Yes, the previous part is correct. Queen Vimaladatta, who is today's Bodhisattva, this Bodhisattva had compassion for the king and his retinue. She is a Bodhisattva. She took rebirth in this family in order to convert this king, taking rebirth in this family. Are there any other questions? Should we go a bit slower? Just kidding. Many people who is listening online may be tired. When the Buddha taught this chapter on the ancient accounts of King Śubhavyūha, 84,000 people became far from impurity and defilement and attained the pure Dharma eye regarding all teachings.
Chupun Tsulen Droa Droa Shao
Bandangara Badma Sodardha Bandangara Dharma Sada Om Bandara Dharma Sada